Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Spiritual Underground Podcast. Your host, as always, my name is Dan Reeves. If you're just stumbling upon this podcast for the first time, the majority of my older content is primarily 12-step recovery stuff where people come in and told their stories. There's a pretty broad little range of some different recordings back in the day. I just kind of done this thing by what's come by and have accepted it as a gift. But today, later on, as times went by, not exactly sure. My foundation is this 12-step recovery, and that's what made me, prompted me to start this podcast. But it seems that like now, the universe, God, the angels, higher power, something, keeps sending people here that are just people who have tools and who have had have been through something, and they're just looking to help share that with the universe and let people basically just it boils down to this: people helping other people be better people. We've all got our stuff, and sometimes it feels pretty unmanageable. And I think the universe is set up so that we help each other. So that's what we're doing today. My guest today is Christine Trimpe. She helped me spell that last name. You'll see it when you read the podcast. It's got an E on the end of it, and I want to say the E, but I'm glad she reminded me of that before I took off because I would have said it wrong. And I got a funny thing about names. I have a gift. Once I know your name, I will know it almost forever. Your name and face. Lots of times people say, I can't remember names. I'm no good with names. Well, I am like Rain Man level with names most of the time, and I like to say them correctly. As people say, I'll say, are you Christopher or Chris? Well, you call me whatever you want. Well, what your friends call you? That's what I want to know. How's it going today, Christine?
It's going great. Dan, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Where are you coming from? Where are you at?
I am just northwest of Detroit in Michigan.
Oh, wow. Well, then
Yes.
you're up in some cold air today.
Yes, it's very bitter cold today.
Did you get the snow and all that, or have you had it and
Oh,
kicked it?
we got snow, but we're used to it here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. Sometimes, are you up there where it can like stay snowy all winter?
Yeah, well, southeast Michigan, we have breaks from the snow, and we don't
Comes
get
and
the
goes.
lake. Yeah, we don't get the lake effect snow like the Grand Rapids side does because they're right off of Lake Michigan, but we do get snow.
Okay, yeah. I knew you would get it, but like my
Yeah.
head thinks of the movie Fargo, where my it tells me,
Yeah, no, we're
sometime
not
around
like
like October it's going to snow, and you're going to see white until April.
No, that's the Upper Peninsula of Michigan for sure.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So you're talk about sugar addiction today, and that's certainly, golly, I will wake up in the morning and tell myself I'm going to try to like keep a handle on it today, and I'll be standing in the Walgreens, and there's that bag of gummy bears or various other things, the drinks that I have that have sugar. I mean, it's almost like I went through a thing. My son has got a peanut allergy. And we found that out when he was 9 months old. He's 22 now. And as you started looking around and you started seeing that this stuff is in way more things than you
Yeah.
thought it was. And
Oh,
it
absolutely.
and that does not hold a candle, not even a candle to where sugar is in our lives.
Yes, the food environment that we live in with ultra processed foods, there is sugar in everything. And the reason being is around the time that I was growing up is the whole thing about low fat came out and we have to eat low fat so they can't make flavorless things so they started adding sugar to everything and so here we are now we're in an obesity epidemic which impacted me and so yeah I'm really excited to be here today to talk about sugar addiction because it is a real thing.
Now, let's talk about like the definition of that, because it's not just the white stuff that's down in the canister in the kitchen, right? And
Yes.
and I don't know, but I've heard like that's probably better for you than some of the other things we call or could possibly be classified, or let's put it this way, your body takes in as sugar,
Yes.
right? That's really
Yeah.
what it is. I
Yeah,
think.
absolutely. And this is the reason why I was stuck in obesity for 30 years is because I didn't know how much sugar was in the standard American diet. And, even through my yo-yo dieting, and I would try to do well and kind of white knuckle through counting calories and all of that stuff. But nobody ever talked about the ingredients being so high in sugar in our food packaging, you know? And so, yes, there's my life, just put it this way, Dan, my life didn't change until I was not eating the sweet stuff sugar. Like I wasn't eating pastries, donuts, candy, cookies, nothing like that. For about 10 months, I was very focused on that, and my weight loss was so slow. And that's what I was going for at the time. I was morbidly obese, and my weight loss was so slow. And so I just kept investigating, like, what is going on? I feel like I've given up everything I need to give up. But I stumbled on, I was really keen and interested in hormonal health, and I stumbled on a doctor called Jason Fung out of Toronto. And I learned from him that weight loss is all about your hormones. And I learned even more from him that the food I was still eating, like potatoes and whole wheat bread and whole wheat pasta, and everything that I thought was friendly to, like, oh, like a standard diet for women who are wanting to lose weight. And trust me, I tried all of them. As soon as the day I decided that I was no longer going to eat potato, pasta, and bread, is when my weight just started melting off of me. So, as someone very insulin resistant, I learned that all those other types of foods are sugar. As soon as they hit your digestive tract, the enzymes break them down into sugar. So, as soon as I stopped eating all of that stuff, I was like, all these years nobody told me that. And now I know, because and this is, specific to me, someone with insulin resistance, which is most people that are walking around with obesity have the same struggle as me. So to hear that it's not just the sweet stuff sugar, it's flours, it's grains, it could truly be life changing for someone today, I hope.
Yeah, I've had some experience with some people that in OA,
Oh, yeah. Yes.
and some other people, I mean, it's certainly you're the rare bird today that's not dealing with like trying to deal with weight issues, right?
Yes.
I mean, I personally believe it's because of this crazy food supply we had, it was,
Yes. Yeah.
I always think about like, and I know it's a little cliche-ish, but when I was a little kid, you were seeing the starving Africans on TV and you were talking about food shortage and all that. And it seems
Hmm.
that we pretty much solved that, but we solved it with something that's not necessarily any better. Uh,
No.
we're
Cheap
not,
food, right?
yeah, yeah.
That's making people unhealthy.
And I've had a friend that talked about, and I'm just going to use some terms that's come across my radar. And I know somebody who like did that. They said they stopped eating dessert sugars.
Oh, yeah.
The
Hmm.
cookies, the cakes, the stuff
Yep.
that you named off, and
Yep.
then that person also went through that same kind of path of going, well, that's not enough, really. That's
Right.
not going to cut it. That's
Right.
good start.
Yes.
But then started just like you,
Mm.
found like these layers of, oh, it's in here too. And
Yeah.
this substance is doing that too, even though I have no mental like connection that that's sugar. Uh,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
then from an alcoholic background, that's what that turns into too, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So just to give you an example, like when I started losing the weight and it was became very obvious to my coworkers, a nurse practitioner said to me, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I quit sugar." And she said, "Oh, sugar's not my problem. Like I like French fries and potato chips, and those are my problem." I'm like, "I hate to break this to you, but that's sugar." And she was completely floored. And so, people just don't know. I didn't know.
Yep, me
So,
neither.
yeah.
That's
So,
and another term is no added sugar. People
yes.
will claim
Right.
that they're not, that's their direction. But
Right.
and again, good.
Yes.
uh,
Good. Yeah. Healthier.
but
Yeah.
probably is not a deep enough cut when you're trying to
Right.
make some real traction.
Right. Especially when you're dealing with chronic health issues like I was for so many years. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the things you were talking about there, like the things you were listing off, like French fries and potato chips and breads and that kind of stuff. And I won't claim to know, but it's carbohydrates, right?
Yes.
That
Yes.
they're basically sugar, right?
Right. Exactly. They break down into sugar. And the ultimate, easiest takeaway that I can share with people today is that sugar drives disease. So if you're dealing with chronic disease, I really encourage you to examine the sugar that you are eating. The hidden sugars, the everything in moderation, sugars, like those can still be impacting your health in a negative way.
Yeah, I think I saw in the email that you'd lost some over 100 pounds type of thing. Is
Yes,
that what I
yeah.
saw in there?
Yeah, I was morbidly obese.
Congratulations. That's
Yeah, thank you. I was morbidly obese, and the journey that I went on, once I quit that bread, potato, and pasta, I lost my weight pretty quickly. And so now I'm on a journey of maintenance, which is you have to show up every day for this because we have to eat, which is going to be one of my major questions when I get to heaven, and I'm going to ask the Lord, like, why food? Like, why do some of us battle so much with food? Because I actually, part of my journey too is not only was I physiologically addicted to sugar, and I know it's a brain disorder now, and that's why I'm really passionate and have been trained as a sugar addiction specialist. But also, my metabolism does not handle carbohydrates. So why are some of us built like this, God? Why? And I don't despair it. Like it's part of my story. It's part of my journey. But yeah, just showing up every single day, paying attention to what works for my health, what fuels my body well, and knowing that I have a history of being extremely carbohydrate sensitive. And so just being really cautious about what I put in my mouth. And once you quiet the sugar cravings in this journey, it's so much easier. Like I don't think about sugar. It doesn't hold the same temptation over me that it did in the past. And I'm a believer. I'm a Christian. I walk by faith and I give God all the glory for like removing so much from my life, that brain addiction, the metabolic health and healing, just and having the heart to do this every single day. It is the hardest thing I ever did in my life, and I just want to encourage anybody out there listening to give you hope. I know it's hard, but it's not impossible.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Did you do this in community or were you alone? How did you? Because
Um,
community is a big part of our recovery, right? It's a
yeah, oh
big
yeah, absolutely.
chunk of it. And I know that there was no way I would have gotten any traction on my own.
Yeah. So God created me very tenacious and resilient, and I did a lot of the deeper work on my own. Like I did all my rabbit hole searches and trying to find answers on my own. But once I figured out that the low carb lifestyle was going to be exactly what I needed, I connected with the low carb community on X.com and like there's a really great active low carb community over there. Low carb, keto, now I call it my sugar-free lifestyle. So I am actively engaged with all of them. Lots of doctors that have adopted a new philosophy for helping patients heal, other than just, prescribing a pill. So, yes, I do have community. And then that's exactly how I set up my own sugar-free community as a group coaching program because we absolutely need each other. This is not something you could do alone. And I'm really glad that God guided me to do that as a group coaching space because it's amazing to see these women show up and support each other through this.
Yeah. Yeah. I can completely understand that.
Yes.
Um, did, that's well, I'll go back. Some years ago, I quit nicotine and I blowed up. Now I am genetically blessed that I'm a skinny dude.
Okay.
Actually, I'm the flip side. I wish I could be a little bigger, but I am actually embracing my slimness.
You're one of
Uh,
those.
yeah, yeah, and and I
Yeah.
can't really take any credit for it. It's just never been a battle for me.
Yeah.
It just really hasn't, and who knows
Yeah.
why. But
Yeah.
the dope and the booze.
Hmm.
That's a whole,
Yes.
I definitely went off the deep end in that direction. So we all seem
Mhm.
to have one of our things. But when I did that, I started eating. And one of the things I was doing, I was trying to keep healthy snacks around while I stopped nicotine because I knew I would want that oral thing.
Yes.
And so I would keep bags of carrots and cauliflower and all this. But at some point, I kept on blowing up. Now, like right now, I'm about 180, 185 and I still ended up about 220.
Okay.
And I was able to reel that in at a certain
Uh-huh.
point, actually with the help of this person who gave me so much, that she's similar to you.
Okay.
She's lost, I think she's someplace in the 160, 180 kind of loss
Okay.
range.
Wow. Yeah.
Um, and through a various few things, but I learned a lot from her. Uh, but she also helped me with this, and she got me, she had me try this app, and I started scanning and doing and
Mm,
learning, actually monitoring, because I will tell you, at least for me, if I'm not doing something like that, I really don't have any idea how much I'm eating.
yeah,
And if I'm
exactly.
not weighing portions, actually
Hmm.
weighing them, not guessing, and
Hmm.
now, my genetics and stuff helped me, and over a few months, it didn't take long to get that back where I needed to be, and it was never a problem again. But I did
Hmm.
use the keto type stuff, the low carb,
Yes.
and it melted
Yeah.
away, man. I mean,
Yeah.
it didn't take long at all. But you had to be very conscientious. I mean, it was
Yes.
a huge part of my, it was a chunk of my, taking up my RAM, my mental RAM to
Right.
manage
Right.
that stuff. It's not, did you have, how did you,
Yeah,
what
I use
tools
that.
did you use?
I actually use a tracking app called Carb Manager. Maybe
The
that's
one
the
I
one
used
you.
to.
Yeah, okay, that's the one. Yeah, and I love that because you can scan the barcodes and you can keep your recipes and all that in there. It's a really handy app. And I teach my coaching clients how to use it too, but I have to be really careful with the women I work with as to not if they get overwhelmed,
Right.
then they're like they are more prone to not show up or to give up. So the Carb Manager app and tracking is really useful because you can't change what you don't know. So it's really good to at least start using something like that. And then once I have found that once you adopt this lifestyle, you don't need to track so much because you're eating the same things day in and day out. You've got a rhythm, you have a routine. I know that I'm not going to shop down the grocery store aisles. Like there's nothing there for me. I'm not buying prepackaged food or rice or taco shells or ketchup. I'm not buying that stuff. So I have my meals that I like. And quite honestly, that's part of the freedom too. I know it might sound kind of boring if I told somebody I might eat the same seven things for the next month. And they'd be like, well, that sounds boring. But you know what? You get to the place where you just have this mindset that food is fuel. And that's how I want to feel better every single day. Like you introduced this podcast as showing up to help people and serve people. And I always say if you don't feel well, you don't serve well.
Yeah.
And now knowing what it feels like to live in morbid obesity and knowing what it feels like to not live in morbid obesity, I choose the that freedom and the more energy and the vitality and all those years I was carrying all that extra weight, it was not just my physical weight, it was also very emotional, very spiritual, this heaviness, and it was guilt and shame. And being able to let that go, you can show up with more energy every day. You can show up thriving instead of just trying to. I think of those old days like I was just trying to survive. I was
Yeah.
so exhausted and I felt so bad about myself and I carried so much shame that at the end of each day I just wanted to crawl back in bed and have to then I would dread like, oh, I got to get up and do the same thing over again. But once I started this healing journey, all of that changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
You feel so much better that, and the weird thing is people trade it in sometimes, and, like, I guess, relapse in any kind
Yes.
of type
Yeah.
of thing where and I always say to guys that, one of the things about this deal is we got to do some stuff to get you feeling better. And that sounds kind of shallow in a sense,
Hmm.
but if you don't feel good, you're going to reach for something to make you feel
Yes.
good. And
Exactly.
so, and you're not going to get there overnight either. None of this
Yeah.
stuff is,
Yeah.
it's a time thing. Um,
Hmm.
you'd said something and I lost it. I had,
You
but
said
go
something
ahead.
about relapsing, and I mean that's something that happened to me for 30 years, and it happens to chronic dieters. I mean, I coach women, but I know that men can struggle with this too, this chronic yo-yo dieting. And it's because we didn't get to the root of it, Dan. It's that root of the cravings, it's the root of the sugar addiction. When I was sitting on the side of that mountain the day my life changed, uh, back up a second. This is what happened to me is I was sitting on this, I was going up a mountain trail in Rocky Mountain National Park with my husband. It was only a half-mile trail. I thought I could do it, but getting halfway up that path, I had to stop. I was gasping for air. My knee was killing me. I was so exhausted. I told my husband to go on without me. And I sat, once again, I sat on the sideline of life and I just really had a moment. I was approaching 50 years old. I'm like, what am I doing? Like, am I going to live long enough to see my grandchildren? I remember just saying a little prayer, like, God, I just want to feel better. Because at that point, living with obesity for 30 years, I never thought I would live at a healthy weight. Never. Like that thought was gone. And so, but I came home from that trip with something settled in my heart, and I'm like, I have to turn this around. So I did the very first medical intervention that I had been putting off for so long. I got a sleep study. I did not want a CPAP machine, so I didn't do that study for 10 years. And just getting that CPAP machine completely changed my life because I started feeling better. I started waking up refreshed. And for the first time in my adult life, even though I was raised in a church, I was raised in a Christian family, I started picking up my Bible every single day. And that actually ended up being what was filling that longing in my heart and my soul. And really was the key thing that was instrumental in helping me break this sugar addiction. And all that to say, I set that story up because I was going to say that at that point, as I was going up that mountain path, I never would have said, I'm a sugar addict. Like, I didn't know that. I didn't think that. That's not something we talked about in all the dietary programs I signed up for. I also didn't know I was idolizing food. Like, I was obsessing about food. Like, it was an idol in my life because it was comforting me, it was soothing me, it was separating me from my faith journey, my faith walk. So all these things were part of a discovery, and that's why I help women now is because I lived through this and I want to bring them through this quicker. Like like living in obesity for 30 years is not fun. It's not fun. So let me help you. Let me help you. Let me link arms with you and help drag you out of this. And it's just so much more fulfilling. So yeah, that's why the relapses keep happening because we don't know the full story of what is going on physiologically in that brain disease. An addiction is one disease with many different outlets. So
It's
drugs,
funny, like,
alcohol,
what is
sugar.
your thing, and it
Yeah,
seems that
yes.
most of us have that thing,
Yeah,
whatever it is,
right.
and
Yeah,
and that's the deal that
yes.
trips the switch for us.
Right.
And everybody's different. Your food, I'm booze and dope, and
Yes.
somebody else is sex and gambling
Yep.
and whatever,
Yeah.
and all these things. And
Yes.
uh, my friend also would talk about like she almost saw it like later on as like an insulation layer to keep her like safe
Mm,
almost like this would and the more insulation she put on the safer she was. Now not
yeah.
really thinking
Right.
that was I always say so much of life is like looking in the rearview mirror. I don't really
Yeah.
see where I'm at today really, but
Yeah.
I can look and see where I was at.
Yes.
And that was certainly an interesting thought to me that it's actually an isolation tool.
Yes. Oh, she's
And
right. I call it a preventative layer, because there's some pain, there's something in our history that we are trying to protect, and so we turn to food. We all have different stories, right? Some of us, some of the women that I coach have been severely traumatized as children. I didn't have a lot of trauma in my childhood, but I was bullied because I was a chubby third and fourth grader, and I was bullied a lot in school. Never felt like school was a great, safe place for me to be, except for my very close group of girlfriends. So that bullying hurt, and something that I know that was the weight I was carrying all those years. It was just a protective mechanism. So I need to soothe. If I don't feel like I fit in somewhere, if I have to go somewhere and I don't want to be there, or it's an event that I don't feel welcomed at, I would come back from those types of events and I would just like eat all night long just to like soothe that emotion of that experience. So yeah, she's right. Isolation, it's not a very good preventive medicine, is it? But that's what we were doing. That's what did to myself.
I have no fond memories of school. Like I would say, I disliked being in the school. I could use
Yeah.
stronger language in that. I didn't like it. I had some similar kinds of things going on.
Hmm.
I caught up with some high school buddies over something not too long ago, And it was cool and everything, but it
Hmm.
was still, there was like, there was a piece of me that still like didn't feel safe here.
Yeah.
And I'm 56 years old,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
I still feel like it almost felt like a little kid in a way, like you almost regressed in a sense, and it was
Hmm.
uncomfortable for me.
Yeah.
And I had a good time, and I'm glad that I saw him. And we did,
Yeah.
the catching up and stuff. We had a friend that was in town that had had well, frankly, he had a stroke, and
Mm.
he's in really bad shape, and he's in town. And so a bunch of us got together and just went and communed for a little while.
Yeah.
Uh, you were talking about that time on the mountain, and I hear that story so often, that cry for help, that prayer that we kind of joke around it a lot of times. It's like the jailhouse prayer, or
Hmm.
that,
Yeah.
oh God, help me. I won't, if you,
Yeah, right. I promise, right? And,
yeah,
which is interesting to me, like when I think back, I'm like, my life began to change that day. And I honestly was like, I just want to feel better. I just want to be able to climb a half a mile path. And it was pretty, the altitude was high, the incline was steep, but still I'm like, I'm only 48 years old at the time, right? I should be able to do that. Now, I do have to tell you that I have gone back and I've climbed that mountain a
awesome.
couple more times again. And I've actually, we were trying to get to Nymph Lake. Have you ever been to Rocky Mountain National Park?
I have.
Okay.
We actually have a group that go to camp and elk hunt and stuff
Oh,
in
fun. Yeah.
near Granby, Grand Lake area,
Okay. Yeah. That's
which is
on the
just right
other
down the
side of
road. Yep,
of
on their
Estes
side. So
Park.
that side of it was the side that I've
Yeah.
been to.
Yeah, so at the Bear Lake stop is where this Nymph Lake Trail is. And then above Nymph Lake is Dream Lake. And then above Dream Lake is Emerald Lake. My husband just wanted to try to get me to Nymph Lake. So we just went back a couple months ago and we did Nymph Lake and we did Dream Lake and we did Emerald Lake. And I'm just like standing up there going, I cannot believe this. And I could have kept going, but that was the end of that particular path. But
Yeah,
I love climbing mountains. So mountains are very symbolic of what I've been through. Climbing mountains is not easy, and we're going to have valleys, and we're going to have mountain summit peaks, and we're going to have to go back down to the valley and all of that. So I just absolutely love the fact that God had me on the side of a mountain, my favorite terrain, and said, "Hey, like I want your attention," and He got it. So,
very cool, no doubt.
mhm.
I have a
Yeah.
mountain moment too where
Oh, yeah.
I was breaking in houses stealing pain pills, and I was drinking, and
Okay.
I supplied like a opiate habit for many years without spending a dime,
Wow.
because I took yours and
Wow. Yeah.
hers and
Yeah.
his, and I finally got caught.
Wow.
And the night I got caught, I was going back for seconds in a place, maybe thirds. And a guy was laying in wait. The man's son was laying in wait for me. He had a ball bat and pepper spray, and I
Wow.
laid into both of them. But I got away. But anyway, I stood and turned went through the stuff, got a lawyer, turned myself in, stood down in New Albany at what town I live in front of the judge. He said, "You was the sentencing guidelines for the crimes you committed is 6 to 20 years in the Indiana Department of Corrections," which caught my attention. And I just like short to compile it quickly is I ended up not spending any time in prison. I was on home incarceration for a year. I kept
Okay.
a job. I had a really good job. They never knew that I was on home incarceration.
Wow.
I usually travel a lot, and I was worried about them asking me to travel, and I didn't travel for a year.
Okay.
Uh, and then I was on probation for another year, and my travel abilities were limited. And then I got chosen at work to be on this special team that's going to go spend a month in Nagasaki, Japan, with a Japanese company to do some knowledge transfer. And I went and talked to my probation officer, and they said, if you was going to Tennessee or Connecticut, well, we could probably talk to the judge and get that to be okay. But she said, honestly, I don't even want to ask him to let you go to Japan.
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay, so I did. We just and God kicked the can, and the trip was postponed a month, and then it was postponed a month, and it was postponed a month, and I ended up getting off paperwork in February the 8th of 2016, and then I think it was the 16th of 2016, I was standing on top of a mountain in Japan
Oh,
with
sweet.
with looking over the lights coming on in the town of Nagasaki, the port of Nagasaki, which happens to be, you can look it up, it's one of the top three night
Yeah.
streets in the world. And with the sun setting over this ocean behind me, and I'm standing up there thinking 2 weeks ago I had to ask permission to leave the county
Yes.
and
Wow.
waves of gratitude and that piece of like, wow, man. And and
That's
I was with
amazing.
some other guys, guys at work and stuff, and they were drinking beer and doing other things, and they had no idea like what I was feeling at the moment.
Yeah.
And
Wow. That
yeah,
is amazing.
it's imprinted that mountain stuff, and I just love to be outdoors. Period. There's some
Mhm.
battery charger out there for me that I know sometimes I sit like we've had this winter. I'll be in and I'm not really getting out, and I'll
Mhm.
well, no, I'll feel in my soul like, Dan, you need to go outside for a few hours today.
Yeah.
You need to go
Yes.
hiking. You need to go, and we're pretty much no matter where you are and this in this country, you are within a reasonable drive of some places to go. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, we've got parks and I live in Southeast Michigan. There's no mountains around me, which is
no,
very
I don't have
sad.
none.
But I do travel. Like I will find them every t opportunity I get. And I was born in the Allegheny Mountains in Pennsylvania, so I
Oh,
think
really?
like they're part of my soul too,
Right.
you know?
I
Yeah.
get that. Yeah.
hmm
So
Yes.
help me with your definition. You talked about the sugar addiction
hmm
specifically.
Yeah.
Share with
Yes.
me your what you what that means to you. What do you
Yeah,
know about
so
that?
what the reason I have a particular interest in sharing about this is because like my history, I look back and I mentioned I never would have called myself a a sugar addict. And then but when I break it down, I know fully well that I was. And what happened to me when I started coaching women is they all come to me because they want the weight loss. And then I hear about these stories of relapse and slipping, and I just can't do this, and yo yo dieting. And like women will come into my world and then they'll leave. And then I'll see them posting about trays of brownie on their Facebook page, and I'll be like, oh, they've slipped again. They're in another relapse. So I actually um, connected with the sugar addiction world and got some training in sugar addiction. And I have a diagnostic tool that I can take women through that's called Sugar. It's a sugar use general assessment recording, and it's built very much like a diagnostic tool that is like the DSM-5 could quantify you or qualify you as being an alcoholic too. So it's a really powerful tool. And once these women see the light of sugar addiction and can accept it, it is a really powerful thing because then we get to talk about the shame of all of this and how when we realize that sugar addiction is a brain disorder, it's a brain disease, that we can release some of that shame. And that's exactly what happened to me when I discovered the way I eat. I heard Dr. Fung say in a short video about my insulin resistance and my prediabetes and the diets I had been following. He just looked in the camera and said, "This is not your fault." And I got tears in my eyes that day. And I, that is the day that changed my life. And I was able to like drop it. Like, what do you mean this is not my fault? For 30 years, I've been told to eat less and move more, count my calories, everything in moderation. Well, I'm sorry, everything in moderation does not work for a sugar addict, okay? Because it lights up our brain. We can't stop. The switch is really hard. I describe it to women. I'm like, it's so rusted. Like you're trying to push that switch. You have to be really strong, but it's not possible to flip the switch, to quiet those cravings. So it all comes down to like that shame and be telling somebody like they come to me for weight loss, but when I can have a conversation with them and say, this is not your fault. Now, as a believer, as someone who wants to follow God's word and care for my health well, which he calls me to do, the temple of my body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. I have that living inside of me, even though it's not entirely my fault, I say. And now it's my responsibility to do something about it. I can overcome this, with I 100% believe with God all things are possible, right? And so now I get the opportunity to talk to these women about the shame that they've been carrying because honestly, the shame I carried was heavier than the 100 pounds of fat I was carrying. And so to be able to drop that and just have relief from that and the freedom from that, that's what the freed is in my sugar-freed method. My book is called Sugar-Freed. Stop losing the weight loss battle, start gaining the victory. And my coaching is called Sugar-Freed. And I really like to put the emphasis on freed. Like this freedom is, it's why I'm here talking to you, Dan, because I can't not talk about it. I can't shut up about it.
Yeah,
Not
same
living in
here.
shame is not living in shame is so freeing.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
My sponsor and I, or my most recent sponsor, we started a program in Louisville, Kentucky about I live in New Albany, Indiana, just right across the Ohio River from Louisville, Kentucky, with bringing the
Okay.
12 steps, making them as tools because
Hmm.
available to anybody that wants to use them, not just alcoholics, not just overeaters, and just
Okay.
be community. And we have some of everybody, right? And we just
Mhm.
come together and use these tools in community to help each other be better and stuff. And where I'm going at is we have a podcast series on YouTube, and the very first one of them was "It's Not Your Fault."
Oh, I love that.
So that's where we started,
I'm gonna have to
that is
watch
the
that.
starting point. It's called
Yeah.
the I Am One Two podcast.
Okay.
It's like iPad, the small
Okay.
I kind of thing, but it's
Okay.
I am, the letter M, one, two. And what
Okay.
it is, we was having trouble like identifying because people want to say they were overeater or alcoholic. And it was kind of like everybody was like saying they're different than one another. And
Yes.
some of this energy that makes us work is saying we're the same. I mean, that's a teaching as old as ever, right? That we are
Yes.
one.
Yeah.
So it just come about that we said they identify as I am one too.
Yeah.
I'm one too. I'm one
Yeah.
too. I'm a struggling human here trying to get better and trying to be
Right.
a better version of myself one day at a time kind of thing. And that's where the I am one two podcast thing comes
Oh,
from.
that's so cool.
But that
Awesome.
it's not your fault thing, and that's the thing is that no matter what it is, we take this on like it's something that we've done wrong, or there's some brokenness or some damage that's been
Mhm.
done. And sometimes, and I would like to hear what you say, what you think about this, but it seems that a lot of this stuff is rooted in some kind of childhood trauma,
Mhm.
or not necessarily childhood even. Uh,
Yeah. Adulthood
but
too,
it
right?
can't, a lot of, at least from my perspective and people I talk to and the men I talk to, there's usually some things back there that we have to get and dig up, which is
Mhm.
uncomfortable
Mhm.
because this other thing that I'm doing is really just a symptom to deal with that.
Oh,
Do
yeah.
you find that
Yeah.
to be true in your realm too?
Yeah, like I mentioned, my childhood bullying, I 100% believe that made me show up in life like feeling so uncomfortable to fit in anywhere. So I would go home and comfort and soothe myself with food because it gave me that quick dopamine hit, and it's like, it made me feel like I was safe. So, but what I have experienced in my own journey of healing, and then when I watch the women that I coach, I love to give this practical guidance is that if we can get the food part right first, like if we can get, I even hate to use the word diet, but if we can get our diet right first, we're choosing whole healthy foods that I call from God's good smorgasbord. We're eliminating the sugar because we're addicted to it, right? If we can get that into a rhythm, the sugar cravings quiet, it just becomes our lifestyle. And then we can go in and start trying to figure out, well, uh, why do I turn to food for comfort and or sugar, why do I turn to that for comfort? Why do I need that? Why do I love that dopamine hit? Why is my brain diseased? All of that. We can start working and overcoming all of that. But truly, getting the food down first is really powerful when you're trying to overcome this sugar addiction.
Yeah, that's parallel with the saying, the 12 steps work out to where, we got to get this thing arrested a little bit first.
Yes.
And we're going to do some stuff, but we're not really going to do any real work
Okay.
until
Yeah.
there's a window of time. And then it's interesting because I believe the 12 steps have been sent down here by God.
Yeah.
I believe they're divinely inspired. And I
Hmm.
see the timing of it where we don't do any of that work until there's this window that where this other human has learned that I'm safe, that
Hmm.
time of communicating together because they're not going to get the skeletons out of the closet with somebody they don't feel safe with.
Right,
And
right.
also, until they get that fog cleared and all this and get that out of their system, they're going to be unable to do that. Also, it's just not, you kind of have to get the monkey off your back. You got to get
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
got to get the cloud up off your head to raise up off of it before you can really do that level of looking a little deeper about what's in there. So it
Exactly.
makes
Yes.
total sense to me.
Yeah. Yep.
Um,
Yes. Absolutely.
The one thing about the moderation in that, and this is something that I've always, when I met that gal, and her journey just impressed me because I just immediately saw somehow or another, immediately saw the parallels between
Hmm.
what I had been coming out of and what she had beat
Hmm.
or, overcome as well, whatever you want to say. Was it like, I can quit doping booze. I can quit.
Yeah. But you can't quit food.
Can't quit eating.
No, I know that's
And
the
uh,
thing. Like,
and that almost to me like makes it that much more difficult in
yes.
that arena than even
Yeah.
more so than quitting some other things that you can live without.
Right. Yeah.
You can live without gambling. You can
Yes.
live without dope and booze. There's
Yes.
various these things, but food is a thing you must learn to moderate at some level, adjust, change your relationship with it. I've always taught that the word diet, I don't like it either. And
Yeah.
I'm not even that's
You're
not
not a
even in
health
my
coach in
realm,
that.
but
Yeah.
I look at it as, I need to look at my nutritional needs
Hmm. Yeah.
and readjust what's going on there. I always try to joke around about like there's 12 steps. And I think if Bill Wilson, who authored the 12 steps, was writing them today, step 13 and 14 would have something to do with movement, exercise,
Mm.
and the other one would have to do with nutrition.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
two elements. And see, today I can actually weave those into a guy's
Yeah.
repertoire,
Yeah.
because that's what,
Yep.
one of the first things I tell, well, I kind of quiz them. So what are you doing how you doing moving around, or what kind
Yeah.
of exercise you getting? And some
Yeah.
guys say, well, I used to go to the gym and I used to, and some people say, I don't do anything but sit around on the couch and watch TV. Well, let's get up and go for a walk more than half the days of the week. Let's start with
Hmm.
something easy,
Right.
15, 30 minutes. I don't care. Get up, move more days of the week, more than half the days of the week.
Hmm.
And then also, well, what are you eating? Well,
Yeah.
pretty much, I order DoorDash and I get Taco Bell and McDonald's
Yeah.
and
Right. Yeah.
okay, good.
Yeah.
We'll start working on that also. And again, just that diet, that not diet, I said it, the diet and exercise will be enough to start making you feel a little bit better if you'll stop putting this crappy fuel in you and
Exactly.
begin to move around. And I'm
Yeah.
sure movement was a piece of your equation is also, I also kind
Yes.
of watch it with like exercise because everybody's got it, thinks that.
Exactly. I call it movement in my program. And the sugar-freed method, I'm a writer and I'm an author and a speaker too. So I love alliterations. So I have the 5 pillars of the sugar-freed method. I'll start with the letter F. So we focus on food and fasting and feelings and fitness and fellowship. And the fitness, the ladies get a little nervous about that because, most of the women are between 40, 65, 70. So they're not like I think they're a little worried I'm going to tell them to go to the gym and get to the point where they can do 10 pull-ups or what 50 sit-ups or whatever. I'm like, no, no, we just have to move our bodies, ladies, because if you stop moving your body, you're not going to be able to like squat on the potty when you're 80, and that gets them. And they're like, oh, yeah, you're right. I want to be able to squat on the potty when I'm
And more
80. So
importantly, get back up.
exactly. Like get back down and up without, having to call, for emergency services to come and help you. So they get that. They get that we need to keep moving our body. And I do like to encourage like at least 30 minutes of movement 5 days a week. 100, if we can do 150 minutes, and it doesn't have to be, it could just be going out for a walk in your neighborhood. But you have to keep doing something. So, yeah, fitness is a huge part of my program for sure.
Yeah, this friend I'm talking about, she tricked me. It was my birthday, and she said, "I want to take you someplace special for your birthday, but you can't ask me where." And
Okay.
that don't work well for me. you know. Like, and so I did. I reeled it in, and I said okay, and I knew when I was supposed to be where, at what time, and what day, and I just rode. But then there was a few days beforehand, and I thought, what am I supposed to wear? You know, are we
Oh,
going
yeah.
out to eat, or do I need a tie on? Do I? Oh, you got to at least give me. And she said,
Yes.
just it was summertime. It was August. My birthday's in August, and she said, just wear a pair of short pants and a t-shirt, tennis shoes. Uh, well, immediately thought maybe she had got a couples massages or something, you know.
Uh-huh.
And she pulls up, and we pull up in this parking lot. She pops the hood and pulls two yoga mats out of the back of the car. And she knew that I would have, and she's right. I would have found a way out of that if she'd have told me what we were doing. And this
Yeah.
happened to be it was an hour and a half thing. It was half 12-step recovery meeting and
Okay.
half yoga for
Okay.
people like that, realizing that, you're not necessarily coming into this in the best shape of your life. And, the people that will be visiting this. So it was something that ever was accessible to most people. And I
Yeah.
fell in love that day. I
It was
did.
like,
I fell in love and I found something, and I was athletic as a child. And again, my genetics has kept me pretty healthy at some level. But even though, I realized how unhealthy I actually was when I thought I was healthy. When you start doing that kind of stuff, you realize, oh, wow, hold on, I am a bit behind the curve. And you saw
yeah.
people beside you that looked like they were not as in good shape as you are,
Yeah.
um, you know, beating you. I know that's not what it's about, but
Yeah.
you're
Right.
still going, I can't keep up with her.
Pushing
Uh,
you. Yeah.
yeah, and I fell in love with it, and it's something that I've done. I guess September will be 10 years of doing it, and I don't know if I'll be able to get there today, considering what happened, but that's my thing today, and
Yeah.
I've never been able to maintain any other kind of like movement other than going hiking and just being
Yeah.
outside and far from sedentary. But it seems like there needs to be some intention behind that, and that's where something about yoga helps me, is that there's intention. Uh, just moving.
Yeah.
I need it to be done. I have to. I need it to be on purpose. One of my favorite
Yes.
yoga teachers ends the class every day, and she says, "Have a great day
Uh-huh.
on purpose,
Oh, that's good.
with
I
the
like that.
intention behind it."
Yeah. And I think you have to intentionally make the time and you have to sometimes intentionally invest money. And that's what I do. I belong to a local fit body boot camp here, and it was something that I had to figure out how to put in my budget. So I went and I canceled all these TV subscriptions that I had, like to BritBox and Acorn, and just stuff like that, so that I could make it work. I sacrificed something that I loved, British TV, but I sacrificed it so that I could belong to this gym. And it's one of my favorite places to be too. And it's 3 days a week and 3 mornings a week, and you have to be very intentional about it. I mean, that's the say. I would love to be able to coach women and not have them invest, but if they don't invest, they're not going to show up,
But
right?
it's skin in the game.
Yes, exactly. You have to be very intentional about it for sure.
Yeah, yeah, that was one of the things I thought about, and I wonder about other places if they do this. But this yoga
Hmm.
community I'm in, they have a thing called energy exchange, and you can come there and work and get free yoga by
Okay.
helping the studio do stuff like clean up and the
Oh, that's
different things,
nice. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
did that for some time. I'm actually considering, I'm like, maybe I want to do that again. Because
Mhm.
whatever, life changed, and I got laid off and started working for myself. And when I was working for myself, I was doing a lot of physical work, and that was keeping me from going to the studio. But now I'm back to a desk job again. And
Hmm.
first thing when I got back to a desk job, I was like, I know what this is going to free me up to get back to.
That's
Uh,
good. Yeah. And I recently put a hold on my gym membership because I had been dealing with chronic stress in my life. So I'm trying to like just
mm,
get all of that settled down, get my hypervigilance regulated so I feel calm. And so I stopped the gym, but I intentionally started walking my dog with a weighted vest, so I still was moving my body, and I have a husky. And he could go for 10 walks a day, if we were willing to take him. So that exchange, it worked for me in the season. So
yeah, right.
that's where
Yep.
I'm
And that's
at
the
right
thing.
now.
You have to have life is good. I look at it, life is windy and it's going to blow me
Yes.
different directions, and I'm going to need
Yeah.
to be
Those
able
are
to
those
react.
valleys. Yeah.
and change to according to what, you know,
Yeah.
we always call it the F it button,
Yeah.
I got to keep from doing that, because, because that's my defaults to some extent is to go, well,
Forget it.
this,
Yeah.
this has
Yeah.
screwed everything up. Now I'm
Yes.
gonna have to, I
Yeah.
can't do this anymore. And it's
Yeah.
like, no, 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 that black and white thinking of it's either, green light or red light. There's no yellow.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
make be and that's where community seems that's where I lean on that a lot, because I talk
Yes.
about it,
Yeah.
sitting around whenever one of my favorite things that come from 12-step recovery is like up in my head is like a bad neighborhood. It's a bad place to go alone. uh, so when I
Yeah.
have friends that
Yeah.
real friends that can say, no, Dan, you're full of crap,
Yeah. That's good. I like
that's
that.
not a good idea.
Yeah.
Or, hey, man, I do this. Why don't you maybe try this out? Or Joe, my buddy, does this, and these kinds of things allow me to have some, some grace with myself and look and see where to go when it looks like
Yeah.
I'll be in. Well, another one of my favorite things is God didn't bring me this far to drop me off, so I need to be looking at where the next bus stop is and keep
That's good.
traveling.
I like that. I agree with that. That's why I have Facebook communities for my coaching clients that we gather there, and I'm always like, I don't care what issue you're having. If you're in the grocery store and you see the Reese's peanut butter cup aisle for Easter peanut butter eggs, go in the Facebook group and say, help, help. How do I navigate this? And we'll come alongside you. We will offer up prayers for you. I will give them coaching guidance. It's we can't do this alone. And I 100% believe that God made us for fellowship and community. So,
Yeah.
and we can support each other.
Yeah, or social animals. With
Yes, for
that old
sure.
study about something about babies when they don't get touched, they will actually die
Yeah,
from non-touch and stuff. And that's
right.
another thing. I don't know. This is it was the getting the dope and booze off of me was, and you was talking about people saying they just come to lose weight, and guys come, because they just want to stop drinking, and they don't realize, and I didn't either, that like what this actually did was allow me to have this life. It wasn't,
Yes,
it was so little today about stopping the substance disorder,
right.
that had
Yeah,
to happen. But now what the blessings has come as a result of that way
yeah,
outweigh the drinking. Just seems like, well, that was just like a little uh, stick I had to jump over to get to this side, and the rest of it was over on this side. And now I get to enjoy life and help people, and that's another
yes.
thing. I need to have some service element in my life in order. I know that's the
Mhm.
element, and there's these certain, like you said, pillars in my life that I know if I'm keeping up on, or when I feel funny, I can, when things are sometimes if things starts feeling like I've turned around, I'm swimming upstream, I can look at this stuff and say, am I doing this? What have I put,
Yeah,
what of my tools am I not using today that may be the cause of why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling?
yeah, exactly. And just to be able to feel better, obviously, we can serve better. And I had no idea when I was longing to lose the weight that I actually needed to break the cycle of so much dysfunction in my life, break the sugar addiction and break the emotional wounds that I had. And I had a very apathetic spiritual life, I did not have a close relationship with God. That didn't happen until I started picking up my Bible every day and literally like that was the power to break all those chains. And I love to talk to women and I can just hear the chains breaking off of them. I can see them when they share something exciting. It's like we have to break this cycle. Like there's so much more to life than being stuck in this, like for me it was that 30 years of dieting cycle, but it was so much heavier than just diet, quote unquote. But yeah, breaking the cycle is it's a beautiful thing. It's the freedom, right? You know that.
Yep. Because it's like being, another one of those old things of like, it's put you in a prison, and the
Yes, I
keys
was
in your pocket,
captive. Yeah.
but the
Yeah.
keys in your pocket, you just don't, you just
Well,
can't, nobody's told me,
that's the
and
thing.
once you
Yeah.
have somebody come alongside you, they can help
Uh-huh.
you to reach in
Yeah.
that pocket and get the key out and unlock it and free yourself. That's really, that's a word I use a lot. I love
Yes.
the level of freedom I have in my life. And
Right.
it's not. just freedom from the dope and the booze.
No, right.
It's in all kinds of angles.
Yeah,
I
it's the
always like to
freedom.
brag about my miracle list that was like a long-term gratitude list that my sponsor told me to start when things like that sitting on that mountain is on that list, that little
Yeah.
story.
Yes.
And I had just
Yeah.
bullet point it because I remember, I
Yeah.
don't need to,
Right.
and these other miracles and these, that's what I call them that's happened. And I know that none of them would have happened had I not taken that first step. I had uh, to do that first. And now I can
Yeah.
show up for my friends, for my family, my kids.
Yeah.
My 88-year-old father lives with me.
Okay.
And,
Yeah.
and so, there's a lot of this that I was, just frankly, I would not have been capable of participating in
Right.
at a helpful
Yeah.
level without this thing called recovery. And I think, recovery is a big word.
Yes.
You're in it. I'm in
Yep.
it.
Yep.
Most of us are in it. If you're not in it, you probably ought to be. And
Right. Come
because it
and join
doesn't
us.
seem like I think about it like I don't think anybody escapes this stuff. You like everybody, it's a piece of life. You're gonna have this some burden, something that's gonna be
Yes.
kind of like the old, fighting the dragon or whatever, the old stories of you're going to have this, like the biblical stories. It's all over in there too.
Yes.
You're going to have these hardships, and your job is to recognize that and overcome it. And then I think subsequent to that, kind of like the hero's journey thing, it's then to
Yes.
circle back and help other people.
Yeah.
When you've been to hell and you got out of it, your job is to go back and get more people out of it.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. And that's why I love to speak to women's ministry events, and like I don't want to be known as the weight loss speaker, right? Because there's so much more to this recovery. Like you said, we all have something. We all have some heavy burden. We're carrying grief or a mountain of debt, or we're gambling, or our relationships are terrible because we're a people pleaser or whatever. Like we all have something that we can find so much more freedom from, like that weight that weighs us down, and the things that are rolling over in our minds every night before as we're trying to fall asleep, like, oh, I could have done this better today. Like, okay, yes, you could. Now here's a way to do that, like,
And
so
it's baby steps, and it's the
yeah.
whole thing about how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time, and all
Yes.
those old
Yep.
things. And there's
Exactly.
another old recovery story. It's called Dropping a Rock, and they talk, and you maybe have heard it about somebody swimming across the lake and they're drowning.
Mm-hmm.
They just cannot stay up, and somebody paddles a boat out there and is looking at them. Well, they're carrying a big rock to
Oh,
try to swim,
yeah.
And the guy says, help me, help me. He said, well, drop that rock.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we all seem to be carrying that rock along with us and feeling like we're
Mhm.
drowning, and we need, like, almost, sometimes it feels like, you need permission to drop the rock. Somebody's got to, like, that's not
Yeah.
exactly
That's
right, but
yeah, but no, I totally get what you're saying, because
nobody
it's
told me I could drop the rock,
no,
right?
exactly. Like, and
I
if
thought that
and
was my job,
yeah, and
carry this burden.
I
Uh,
dropped the rock when that doctor's video said this is not your fault. I
yeah,
mean, I just in that moment, I was like, what? And it changed my life. It,
yeah,
it absolutely changed my life. And that was the last day I ate food that did not nourish my body well.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and I look at it as fuel too. And again, I don't, it's more of just a health thing. It's just that I know that I feel better when I eat better.
Yes.
And I like, we all do, right? I like to feel good.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that's what the dope and boost did. That's what it did.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
honestly did that for me for a period
Yeah.
of time, and it worked. That was like, that one of the recovery things is that, alcohol wasn't my problem. It was actually my solution.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And then my solution stopped working. And then
Yes.
there I am with nothing but trying to continue to use that old solution that doesn't work anymore.
Hmm.
And I had to plug in some new solutions, and one of them is taking care of this vessel,
Yeah,
exercise, and
exactly.
don't
And
put
and yeah, it
don't
is a
put all
vessel.
the various poisons that are available to me in the world
Yeah.
that seem to be on every commercial and on every billboard and in every restaurant. And people are saying, have some more poison.
Yes,
No,
exactly.
thank you.
No, thank you. Right. I know. I like I people think that it's kind of weird that I'm not going to eat cake or pie, and like, oh, Aunt Martha made this pie. How are you not going to have a piece of it? I'm like, because I know what it feels like to not live fueling my body with sugar. And if I have a piece of pie, I might want to take the whole rest of the pie home and eat it in secret at night, right? And if I don't take it home, I'm going to be obsessing about, I wish I had some more pie. So it's better like that. Everything in moderation does not work for a sugar addict. At least it would not work for me for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yes.
and it's like I walked into work yesterday morning and there's this, I think it's called Jeff's Donuts, and there's these giant boxes of donuts. As I walk in the door, there's a big table right there, and
Hmm.
people are all gathered up around it, and hey Dan, donuts. Yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
I didn't. No, thank you.
Yeah.
And then I had to walk by them 10 or 12 times as
Yes.
they slowly disappear. And I
Yeah.
remember at the end of the day yesterday, as I was walking out, there was still one big giant, I think it was probably a big jelly-filled powdered donut. And I mean, it was a big old donut and it was still sitting there. And I thought, I wonder why nobody ate that donut, And in my mind, I'm like,
Mm.
nope.
Yeah. Nope. I know. I know.
They
And
bring in food every day, it seems like somebody's having a lunch meeting and they put the leftovers in the break room and
yeah.
then it's all this, there's these, it's just there like so often that I'm like, golly, man,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
love
And
to
I worked,
break
I
out the
worked,
booze and put it out here too.
yeah, right. Everything in moderation, right? Yeah. We have to build that resolve and the resiliency and the strength to be able to just walk by that stuff and not let it bother us,
Yeah. My
and that's
friend
freedom.
says that's not my food.
That's not
That's
my food.
not
That's
my
good.
food.
I love that. That's not my
My,
food.
my food is in my bag by my desk. That's where
Yep.
my food is. This is not mine.
Yeah,
Stay.
that's good. And I'm gonna choose freedom over that table of donuts
Yeah.
every day. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you
Mm.
reach that book?
My book? Yeah. Oh, I have
Just so
one
we
right here
can.
too.
Okay. Okay. Good.
That's my
Yeah.
book. Yeah.
Awesome. Very
Yes.
cool.
SugarFreed, Stop Losing the Weight Loss Battle, Start Gaining the Victory is a 7-year project that released last January. And it's helps women overcome the sugar cravings, the shame spiral. I do have men that read it too. Like
I was wondering,
I've heard from,
and I do understand that because,
yeah,
like, my primary thing is men, and
yes,
in the
yeah,
recovery world, it's just really not a good idea to have two
yeah,
recovering of opposite sex come
yeah,
together. There's
yeah,
just
that
can
makes
be
sense.
too much complication can happen, so we try not to. Although in that
Uh,
other program, I've
yeah,
had the opportunity to sponsor women through the 12 steps, and it brought something to me that I didn't know I was missing.
yeah, yes,
So I'm very grateful for those opportunities too. But in general, so men and women this is available to anybody.
yeah, and it's on Amazon, or they could go to my website and find details about it. Like if they want the backstory about the book, they can see a page there. So yeah, and I also have a free guide for your listeners called Break the Sugar Cycle. And that is a 7-step plan that they can do at their own pace. So I am not a coach that tells you you have to rip the band-aid off on day one. Okay. So we're going to do it slow steps so that it's probably much different than getting off alcohol and drugs where you do want to rip the
But there
band-aid off.
are some communities that are doing that in a lot of different ways. I've
Oh,
heard that
really?
in the smoking and in the eating and stuff. That's just like, look, you
Okay.
don't have to stop today.
Yes.
Let's
Like,
just start changing our thinking around it
yes. Yeah.
and then begin to. And I'm involved right now with a group that's an alcohol group
Yeah.
that they don't tell you you got to stop. As a matter of fact, over and
Okay.
over again, I am not telling you to stop drinking today,
Okay. Okay.
but
That's
begin to think
interesting.
about it. So, I think there's a big movement in that, and I think that's helpful.
Yeah.
And
I think it,
and it's different strokes for different folks, kind of stuff, right? I
yeah.
mean, but there's just not a one-stop shop for everything.
Right,
So
exactly. And that's
I
why I
like
like
it.
this. I like to help guide women through the 7 steps. The guide men can grab the guide too because it's really useful. And so Break the Sugar Cycle, you can get it at www.breaksugarcycle.com. And there's some dietary guidelines laid out there, and then there's a 7-step plan that you can do at your pace. So you could grab that. That would be, I would love for people to see that, like what it looks like to actually get off of sugar and change your life. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
And
Breaking
I'll
that cycle.
absolutely put these links down in the show
Okay.
notes so that folks that are
Awesome.
watching this can go down there and tap
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've got a website as well, or is
Yes. They
that's
can
it?
find me under my name. Yep.
Okay.
ChristineTrimpe.com. Yep.
Okay, cool. I will put all that stuff down there and
Okay. Awesome.
probably
Very
maybe
good.
even the Amazon link too, and just make it easy. That's the other thing.
Hmm.
Um, help is pretty easy and available today. But I always know I got all these things I like to say.
Yes.
The power to change your life is within your reach, but you have to do some reaching. You
Yeah.
have to reach out there and grab it. It doesn't, that osmosis thing just doesn't work in this territory, just hanging around. Uh,
Hmm.
you got to reach out and grab some hands and grab some tools and, and they're so easy to get today.
Yeah. And the online world makes it so easy too.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's just available
Yep.
to most
Right.
everybody.
Yes. Definitely
Real
different than
cool.
just even 10 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. What a world we're in too.
Right?
The social media addiction stuff.
Yes. Yep.
Just yesterday, I deleted all the social media off my phone.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Just as a step, because I would find myself, like heck, when I would go to the bathroom at work, I'd have to grab my phone and take it with me.
Yep.
And and
Yep.
and now that I know that that stuff ain't on there, my
Yeah.
phone will lay now because I
Yes.
won't like grab it because there's really no reason
Right.
to carry it
That's a
with
good
me.
choice.
And
Yeah. Yeah, it's
and
an
this
addictive.
world allows, because I promote the podcast on social media and
Yeah.
on stuff. So I don't necessarily want to completely disconnect with it, but I don't
Right.
need to carry it around in my pocket all damn day long.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. And like as an online coach, I have to use social media just like you. So I don't have notifications turned on my phone.
Yeah, but I turned them off a long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah, but now I actually have been thinking about taking them off my phone too. So thank you for inspiring me today.
Yeah, it's another thing. It was like, and again, it's kind of like this thing, the 7-step thing where you're not saying you have to stop
Yeah.
right now, slam
Mhm.
the gavel and cut the cord. But over time, as making those things like first turning off notifications and getting that part behind me. And
Right.
so that every time the thing vibrates and buzzes, it ain't,
Yeah.
calling me like Pavlov's dogs.
Right.
And stepping along. And it was just, I don't know, over the past couple of weeks, I'm like, this is no good for me. This does not feel good for me. And
Right.
it's
Especially,
hard. And I was like,
yeah,
and when it come about, I said, I'm gonna delete these things, man. Bam,
good.
boom, 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 boom. Uh,
Good.
and it was kind of like,
Yeah, especially when the news gets chaotic, right?
yeah,
That's
that was the
yeah.
tripping point here lately
Yep.
was, well,
Hmm.
watching, my friends have complete black and white stances on something that is
Yes.
not black and white.
Yeah.
And like, I'm watching friendships dissolve over these things that frankly have nothing to do with us at the moment. It
Yeah.
may, and I understand the point,
Yeah. Yeah.
but like, wow, man.
I know. Social media could be used for so much good, but there's so much bad that we see on it. So yeah, we do have to be careful. And then it just goes back to again that addictive behaviors can manifest in so many different ways, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I believe that they're out there, I don't like to be like conspiracy thing, but they're out there doing this on purpose at some level. They are trying to hook us and they are trying to get us to do that. And
Yes.
there are people that are spending, companies and corporations stuff are spending a lot of money trying to figure out how to trick you into staying plugged into whatever it is they're selling.
Yes,
Doing
exactly.
it minutes online or donuts or booze.
Donuts, right?
Uh,
Fritos or Ruffles, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna wrap this up, but my dad, he's 88. I don't
Okay.
care what he eats, you
Yes.
know.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, he's down there and couldn't get the jar off the dip, for his Fritos last night. And can you get this jar open for me? And he likes to go down and get the pumpkin pie at the Kroger's. It's on, he's tight as a drum. He don't buy anything that ain't on sale. So it'll have the $1.99 sticker on the top of it.
Right, right.
That'll get him to buy it. And And I have to walk by the stuff in my own home and say no, you
Yeah.
know.
Yep.
And the flip side of that is I'm not in your shoes, so it's not that I have to. I can have that once in a while.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of a difference in this
Right.
thing. Sometimes I will treat myself to a piece of pie. I'm not like completely.
Yeah. And
Uh,
like sometimes I'll treat myself to a glass of red wine, you know? So, yeah.
yeah, yeah, because you don't necessarily, that's the funny thing too. It's like, okay, well, do I really just like have to live this aesthetic lifestyle where I'm, depriving myself of everything good? Uh,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I always remind
You
my
just have to
ladies.
find your spot and where you're
Yeah.
at.
Yeah. I remind my ladies, this is not about perfection. Like we are human, we are flawed. We are like for some of us are prone to sin when it comes to food idolatry and stuff. So it's like let's just take it a day at a time, step by step, it's not perfection. We cannot be perfect
Right.
people. The only perfect human who was half God, half man was Jesus. So there's no way we could ever be that.
Right. Yep. Yep. Some of those fundamental things, it's not your fault, and this does not call for perfection.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a huge one in our ballpark too.
Yes. Awesome.
It's cool.
Yay.
All right. Well, it was
Good
great
stuff.
talking to you. I
You
enjoy
too,
this stuff.
Dan.
I have so much fun doing this podcast, and I don't know how it fell into being able to be able to meet all these wonderful people all over the world. I always think of it, and my listeners would probably be tired of hearing it, but all these people are carrying the light, and
Yeah.
if you're looking, like I said, I was looking in them one spaces not long ago, and all I saw was darkness, man, and I had to turn my face away from that.
Mm-hmm.
And through this podcast, I keep on getting to meet these wonderful people who are carrying light, and I still have confidence the light will overcome the dark,
Yes, for
and
sure.
we'll just you keep shining yours, I'll keep shining mine, and we'll try to shine it on as many people as we can.
Sounds good. Thank
All
you.
right. So great to hear from you and talk to you. I do these things pretty much on time delivery, so it probably
Okay.
just be a few days before I
Okay,
have this
awesome.
thing tied up, and you'll see links in your inbox.
Okay, awesome. Very good.
All right.
Thank you
Have a
so
great rest
much.
of your Friday on purpose.
Okay. Okay. Bye, Dan.
Bye bye.